Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description.
We're both concerned about it, right? When do those jobless claims come and hit? Kayla Scanlon, by the way, she used to work for me years ago, which is just, I love that she's made it huge. Said that recent college grads have a 5.8% unemployment rate. It's hitting Microsoft. But guess what? That just means it's going right to their bottom line. So when Microsoft is letting developers go because AI is replacing them, it makes them more profitable over time. So that's another reason we have to, it's a mixed bag. So potentially makes that moat even wider. Then Thomas asks, curious about VIX in relation to possible equity reversal. I've got 1550, Thomas. I wrote about that for clients a few weeks ago. And the macro backdrop, July, that's when I can see absolutely a potential for VIX to start basing and moving higher. And we do have seasonality coming in for September. VIX is in a channel on weekly since December. Yep, hitting and bouncing. It's making a higher low. And we do have, that's it. So basically I'm waiting for it to actually fall into about 15 and a half, and then it should base and start to move higher. That's my read so far, and it's
working. There's really the stress. Like if you look at the VIX futures curve, it's in a very happy place. We've talked about this for a couple of weeks now. There's really not much worry out there structurally in the VIX, and when that happens, it's very difficult for the VIX to get going for very long because structurally, that's what makes it difficult for the VXXs and those long vol products. Just have this sort of pushing a boulder up a hill. Basically, they have this sort of headwind as opposed to a tail. So the SVXYs have a tailwind a little bit, even though they've obviously been chopped up quite a bit. But in this environment, until a shoe drops, it's probably going to be just buy the dip, which is what I've been saying for weeks now. And that's what happens. And even on news that we feel is a little bit somewhat serious, we're just shrugging it off. We did get down to 57.50 or whatever it was. We did get down. It was a little bit of a sell-off, but just the buyers came in, right? The buyers who didn't buy at 5,300 just said, hey, I better start getting in. So I think we just continue to grind. This whole tariff thing has become like, instead of a slugfest, it's more of a slap fest. They're slapping each other a little bit. It's really come down in severity. And so I think the market just is getting desensitized to that a little bit. VIX breaking down, to Thomas's point, I think probably it does. I think it probably
And then you
does.
said also bonds right now are soggy. The 10-year yield is still, in my opinion, going higher. But right now we got a lot of recession vibes in some of the economic data of late, which is, we also had end of month last.
I bought TLT, Samantha. I sold it at 100 like many moons ago, and I finally bought some for the first time in a long time. I think it's just maybe closer to the bottom. I know the long bond isn't as popular as the shorter maturities, but I think we do see pressure on inflation over the next year, and I think the market's going to pick up on that at some point, and then we're going to get some rate cuts and roaring 20s until everyone loses their job. That's always my but.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I'm definitely not a bond bull at all. I have a short term, I'm getting asked about XLE and XLF. I have a very short term bent on crude oil going higher, and then I'm very bearish. In other words, 40 to 60 handle on crude. Dollar yen is chopping about as gold is moving higher with silver. Those are still in trend. And that's actually going to be a big deal. So I think right now we might see some retracement in gold and silver if the market really gets the animal spirit vibes and starts shooting higher, NASDAQ's kind of thing, the rotation, money flow. Otherwise, I think gold and silver are going to be quite all right. And we'll see some distribution in the equity market. So right now that is definitely in play. Dollar yen, if it breaks 139.39, that's still a really big bearish level, but we're not there. We're like 145. XLF has a big old head and shoulders on the weekly. Looks like a rollover. It didn't help with ADP and ISM, that's darn sure. But big picture, we're waiting for July. There's just not a lot of activity in June. We have earnings starting up again. We have corporate buybacks. The blackout window goes into effect June 16th, which is around that FOMC time. So guess what happens? We start to get chopped, volatility into OPEX. Definitely after June quarterly options expiration, we can get some more volatility. But until then, Hans is bullish. I'm tactically bullish, but not macro bullish. So I can't get behind strongly rising bonds. I think they're only good for a trade, and I am still sticking to whole kind of concept of contraction and rising jobless claims into the end of the year, which is not bullish.
Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description. Watch the full Options Macro to Micro Power Hour episode by clicking on the video here and subscribe to LaDucTrading YouTube channel for more content.